going up, we're going forward, doing it every day. The Pierre way. We're going up, we're going forward, doing it every day. The Pierre way. We're going up, we're going forward, doing it every day. The Pierre way. We're going up, we're going forward, doing it every day. The Pierre way.
What's going on, family? It's Robe
and Meima.
And this is the Pierre Way podcast, here with another episode. So today's episode is just based on the questions that y'all have sent in. Ask the Pierres.
Ask the Pierres.
That's what today's about. So we're really excited to get into these questions.
Yeah.
Cool. So we got some questions that y'all have sent in. We're going to get into it.
Let's do
We want to
it.
hear from y'all, and we want to get into some topics.
These are like questions about anything and everything.
Anything and everything. All right.
Y'all submitted them, so.
So Brenda Palmer is going to ask us the questions, and we're going to get into it. So
Yeah.
question number one.
How do you maintain a sense of individuality and personal growth within your marriage?
How do you gain?
A sense of individuality and personal growth. How do you maintain it? I think space. The first one off is space. I think you are, we are one together. You're one separate.
Right.
And so I think the creating space in our marriage for each other and giving each other space is also very important. And so, for example, there are times where you would go and do something on your own.
Yeah.
You go out with your friends, you have a spa day, you do something, you travel and do something on your own. It brings things into perspective for you. It's one of the things that you cherish the most about your self-care. And then for me too, it's like creating that space away and making sure that we're intentional about that space. And that space kind of making it be something that pours back into us as individuals as well. And not using it as a way to escape, but a way to center ourselves individually. That's one of the things I'll say.
Yeah, I think it brings me to a moment where some time ago, I remember like, so you're like a most people probably don't know this. You're definitely like a extrovert, like definitely.
Yes.
I'm very much so more introverted. And so you love like going out with people. He will literally be at a Fridays until like 2:00 in the morning, just talking with a group of guys.
I love that.
Like with a group of people, like that's just his thing. And me, I'm a homebody. I love being home. And I remember a moment when, I think you were out late like one time. I don't know where you were or the season it was, but I remember you came home. I think the next day I was just like, you used to be out. Like, why are you out so late or whatever? And I remember you were like, we kind of became like a discussion fight, because you were kind of like, well, I don't want you clocking me like you're my mom. Like, and I was like, I'm not trying to be your mom. but I think to answer that question is, I agree with you, giving each other space. But also when you are in a space of trying to find out what your individuality is, I think giving each other the permission to be able to explore that, right? So I didn't know that was something that like you really needed and wanted. And it wasn't until that moment I was like, okay, that's what you need. Like, that's what you do. And that's cool. And me and my self-care days, like that's what I need. And you understanding that, like that's cool. It takes some growth.
Sometimes, I mean, we could share the story about how you didn't come home for like 10 hours when you were supposed to come home.
First of all,
like
I came home
hours.
at 9:30, and you're acting like that's late when you be coming home at 2:00 in the morning.
Okay, do we want to tell the story?
We can tell the story. I'm fine with it.
Okay, so
But are you gonna tell the story the right way?
Meima planned a self-care day with her girl.
Yep.
And they were supposed to go to Providence.
No.
Hold on.
Oh, maybe we were.
Yep, you were supposed to go to Providence, which is from where we live, maybe like 15, 20
I thought this was supposed to be a questions
so then
episode.
She was supposed to go there, and she said she was going to be back by 6, like bedtime, because it was a Saturday. And if you've been watching, Saturdays are her days to put the kids to bed.
Right.
So I had to preach the next day and stuff like that, but it was her self-care day. It's like 5:15, 5:20. And I check her location, and homegirl is in Connecticut. She is in Connecticut.
I was at Foxwoods.
She is firmly 2.5 hours away
Not bad.
from home. Like, in Connecticut with her girls.
Only because the spot in Providence was full. So
as
let's
Claire
just...
Huxtable would put it, doing wretched things with her friends. And so she was out, and I'm texting, I'm like, when are you coming home? And she's like, why? Is everything okay? I'm like,
to be
yes,
fair, as a side note,
based on where you are,
as a side
and where
note,
we are, you are already late to come home.
As a side note, right? I was in a different space where I really needed that mommy day.
Okay.
And
no, I get it.
So when you texted me, I just really felt like, why are you clocking me?
She's like, what is going on? I was like, are you okay? Why are you in Connecticut? She's like, well, why are you asking me this? Is everything okay? I was like, we're fine, but it's Saturday. What is going on? Like, when are you coming home? Listen, she leaves her phone in the locker room and goes and gets a massage. She doesn't get home till like 9:30.
That's not that late.
When you were supposed to be home at 6 o'clock, and she came home. This is the funny thing. She came home like a May breeze, like real. Ooh, hi, honey. How's everything going?
I was so
like
relaxed.
She's like, hey, how's everybody doing? Everybody good? I'm like, it's 2.5 hours past bedtime. I already put the kids to bed. I already did all of that.
You did.
But I mean, got over it, because at the end of the day, that's something that she needs.
Yeah.
To energize her. It's something that pours back into her.
And we had to learn that. Like, we had to learn that when we have our time. Like, all this to say, to answer that question is, there's space for the individuality. You just have to learn how it works.
Yeah. So like once a month, or sometimes like, yo, guys, let's go to the movies. And it's like a group of guys, we meet up like at 9:30 p.m. and we go watch a movie. And then come back. It's like, that does something for... I think it's important for whoever wrote that question and anyone to understand, you have an identity outside of your family and your marriage, and you got to pour into it.
Yes. And I think that, and maybe for men it's different, it's particularly when you get into motherhood, it can be very difficult.
Oh, that's good.
Because you almost lose your sense of self because you're so focused on your children.
Yeah.
That like there was definitely moments in between all three of the children where I was like, I'm losing myself, or I have lost myself.
Yeah.
I actually need to figure out what I like to do again and like what I enjoy and invest in myself. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. You just have to be able to create space, and seasons change with life. Things would be different if we had no children, right? Right. We'd have a lot of free time. But when you add children in the mix and responsibilities, and we ain't got a dog, but prayerfully we're getting a dog this year. And you know, those responsibilities just make it really difficult. So, hi, Vernice Poodle, by the way. All right, next question.
Speaking of having fun, how do you or this person, how can they enjoy life even though they're broke?
Broke fun.
That's
good.
Fun.
Broke fun is actually really fun.
Listen, my 7th grade teacher, Mrs. Griffin, always said to me,
hey, Miss Griffin.
Miss Griffin, wherever you are, man, I love you. You changed my life. She said to me, if you are bored, you are a boring person.
And you went and told our 7-year-old this?
I told this to all of our kids. They'd be like, Daddy, I'm bored. I said, you know what Miss Griffin said? If you're bored, you are a boring person. No, I don't think fun is based on money.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Like, you
doesn't have to be.
Put a group of people in a room that no money, etc., and you can have all the fun in the world.
I think it's just when we think about fun, we think about going out, we think about eating out, we think about movies, things that, you know, cost you. And we don't think that fun can be have everybody over, watch a movie, have a game night at the house, go on and that's the thing too, is like the things that we think are fun or the things that we think are not fun. It's like those things actually be fun. Yeah. I do a lot of fun, free stuff all the time. All the time.
I think what people need to kind of analyze is when you pay for an activity to do something, what did you enjoy about it the most?
That's really good, babe.
What made it fun?
Yeah, that's really good.
And then to take that attribute and do it somewhere else. Because when I go to like an expensive restaurant with a group of friends, the restaurant and the bill didn't make it fun.
Right.
The food was okay, it was great, but it didn't make it fun.
Right.
What was fun was that I got to sit and be with people that I love. I got to laugh, we got to share, we got to experience, and that costs nothing.
It doesn't cost anything.
And then so sometimes we think like, you know, in order to have fun, there needs to be a lot of money that's being spent and all that stuff. But that's not true. The stuff that actually makes it fun is free.
No, it absolutely is.
A great fun night for me is calling up some of my friends that I know. got stories for days that I know, got some ridiculous comments that I know would laugh. And we'll just be here all night, like laughing. That costs nothing. That's fun.
Fun for me is adventure.
It's adventure. A hike is fun for you.
A hike is fun for me. Exploring a new town, like that's fun for me. Looking at like $1 million homes, that's fun for us.
That's like a lot of these things are free.
Yeah.
And so look at what do you like about these things that you think cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then attribute it to somewhere else. I mean, we had fun broke.
We had a lot of fun, bro.
We had fun, bro. We laughed, broke. We had fun, like just us two, like chilling and laughing. And that's one thing I appreciate about our marriage and us is like we don't let money dictate our joy.
No,
we don't let money dictate kind of like how happy and how giddy we are. No. You can always find a smile on our faces.
Yeah, no doubt.
We will always find a reason to laugh.
And you actually taught me that. Like I don't know what it is about you and like your concept of like money and wealth, but like I was never like that. I would probably be the person asking that question of like, how do I have fun broke? Because I ain't got no money. I can't go nowhere. I sit at home all day depressed, like on my phone scrolling because I can't go nowhere. I don't have no money. And being with you, being married to you, experiencing life with you has allowed me to like realize and understand that like money is only but a little thing. Right? Like, because we know at the end of the day, you'll have all the money in the world and you still won't have a lot of fun.
Right.
And so,
or you'll be in pain, or you'll be unhappy, you'll be depressed.
Sick in body. Like, so, you know, you absolutely do not need money to have fun. Fun is what you make it. And depending on where you live, like even in the Boston area, there's tons of free fun stuff to do. Like if you go in the city, there's the museums, there's the art shows, there's just like, I'm pretty sure if you Google free stuff near me, right. Like you'll find a ton of stuff that you can do. Even like going to people watch, going to like an open mic night at a cafe on a Friday night. Like those things are typically free. We just aren't creative enough to think outside of the box. Yeah. But yeah, you can have
think
fun.
outside the box and know yourself. Know what you find, enjoyable, and dive into it and figure out why is it enjoyable to you. Right. Yeah. And then you make it happen.
Yeah. How do you guys establish boundaries with ministry and your family?
Family first. That's one of our culture keys at Jubilee. Yes. And that's family first. That means family comes before ministry. Yes. So what I love about our pastors in establishing that is that it allows us to prioritize our families. We will leave work if our kid has a show at school. Yeah. If there's something if anything happens, there's no issues with that. And I mean, we're blessed because we have friends all around the country. But that's not necessarily the case where they need them to clock in and clock out. But at the end of the day, our pastors have modeled family first. And so when it comes to our family, they come first. Yeah. They come first. We will miss something because there's something happening with our kids. We will have to leave early for a doctor's appointment, right, or things like that. And we want our kids to know that they're first. Yes, I think that is so important that our kids know that we prioritize them above ministry, above work, above other things. Yeah. Like they are a priority. This was in the summertime. We went to church on Sunday morning, right? And I believe we were preaching both services. Mm-hmm. And so you preached the first service. First service was fine. And Robin was feeling kind of sick. Yeah. She was kind of feeling sick all day, like kind of out of herself. But like, we're not the type of parents to be like, oh, you have a cough, like stay home. No, we got church. Yeah, okay? So we're like, girl, you fine. There ain't nothing wrong with you. She's like, I just don't feel too good. We're like, whatever, you'll be fine. And so I remember like in between the first service and the second service, we had the kids and we were like just in the break room, kind of just hanging out. And Robin was kind of being weird. And I think I had left because I was emceeing. I was leading the service. Yeah. I left. I went down to the service to open up the service. I came back upstairs and all I see is Roberson has paper towels in his hands. Robin's like bent over. There's throw up all over the floor. And I'm like, what? And Robin threw up. And so I just remember in that moment, you were like, babe, you should go. Like, go home with her. It's fine. Like, I'll handle the kids. Like, we just came up with a plan or whatever. Yeah. And then I had to get on stage, right? And then you had to, I had to get on stage. But the funny thing is, Robin was like, Daddy, can you carry me? I was like, just like, so literally, I'm like, I'm about to preach. And here I am carrying this 7-year-old down the stairs. This big tall 7-year-old down the stairs in the car. Yeah. She's hugging me tight. And she's like in the car. She's not feeling well and things like that. And it's like, you know, that day, that incident was like an example of what we do. Like that service wasn't priority for me at that point. It was like, that's my daughter that's not feeling well. So holding her hair so it doesn't get to throw up, like giving her water, washing her face, like all of that is like, is key. And I think that's how God designed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that's how God designed it. Family is our first ministry.
Right.
And we don't sacrifice that. No. We were taught very early on, do not sacrifice your family at the altar of ministry. Mm-hmm. That was in our first year of marriage. That was in premarital. So we went in knowing that, no, this family's going to be first.
Yeah.
Like no matter how crazy ministry gets, how big, all the opportunities that come, I'm going to be dropping these kids off at school.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to drop Robin off
games.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to be putting them to bed. Like that doesn't change. And I love that. I love that about us.
No, I do.
And, I hope it blesses somebody that asks that question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are millennials, fairly grounded. So I don't know if this question applies to you, but maybe you can give some advice on how couples, married or just dating, can keep social media from influencing and impacting their relationship.
Oh, question.
My goodness gracious. I don't know, because I mean, I guess it depends on where the person who asked this question, like specifics as to what they mean. Like, is it they see people on social media and they're trying to be like them in their relationship? Yeah. Or is it like what other people are doing, they're doing it and copying it? I mean, here's the thing. The reality of it is that social media is only a glimpse into everybody's world, right? And we have to make sure that we remind ourselves that it's like what we see on social media is not the reality of people's lives.
It's not.
It's a 10-minute clip that they videotaped of themselves that morning. It's just a portion
it's edited,
of their day.
It's all that.
It's edited, it's filtered sometimes. And so while there's lots of great content out on social media, especially around like love, black love, like good marriages and all that stuff, I think it's really important for us to know that we have to take what we see with a grain of salt. And what we always see is not always going to be applicable to our everyday lives. Like we see stuff all the time that like sometimes we're like, oh, that's really good, but it's not applicable to us. Like it's just not something that we're trying to do, or it's not something that works for us.
And everything that glitters is not gold. Okay, so everything that you're like, oh my God, their life is so lit, all this stuff. You do not see everything on social media. One of the practices that I love about us is that we shut social media down like a couple times throughout the year. Sometimes it's not even like planned. It's like, you know what? Nah, we just need to stay off now.
Just taking in
like,
too much junk.
Even when it comes to recording this podcast, we were like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to spend much time on this. We want to just be, you know, we don't want to be on that too much. And I think that's like really key to have in your personal life and for your comparative nature when it comes to that, because you don't want to consistently compare and stuff. When it comes to couples, millennials, when it comes to social media, we counsel and advise people all the time. If you are not engaged or married, we do not advise for your relationship to be on social media. Now, this is a very big, you know, topic. This is not Bible. This is just wisdom from us. You don't got to take it. If you want to, you can. But we've seen it happen time in and time again where people are in relationships. They blast it on social media because they want to post. They want to show, you know, this is bae, this is this, because that's what's out. But then the reality is you're cultivating something new. It has its ups and downs, and it doesn't necessarily have a foundation yet. And so we like, until you're ready to get married, until you say, this is my husband, this is my wife, like we don't advise for you to blast your relationships on social media. Now, it doesn't mean that you should be in a relationship in secret.
Right.
There's
secret
a difference.
Versus private.
Yeah, there's a difference. No, your relationship is not a secret, but you are protecting it because you're building it and it's at its infant stage. And so you don't expose that. It's like, I think about when a mother first have their child, they don't just, as soon as the child is born,
well,
you know, some people do, but for us, it's like, as soon as the baby's born, you don't just go out and do everything with it. It's like, it's a newborn. It's young. You want to protect it. You want to nurture it. You want to make it healthy and strong. And so I think, your relationship with social media has to be calculated.
Right.
Like it can't just be everything that you want on there, and know that like it's not reality. It's not reality. There's too much information about one person than their posts that you don't know. So you can't just take that post and compare it to your own life.
Yeah.
And so I'll say unplug, and I'll say unfollow. So for us, we're big on like, if people are posting certain things, like, listen, y'all, I unfollow people everywhere. I unfollow friends. I unfollow family. I unfollow church folk. I unfollow if it's not good for my eyes, if it's not edifying, if it's not adding anything, if it's toxic, I'm not going to follow you. And I think being able to have that allows me to be safe on my, whether it's my explore page, whether it's whatever. I think that's one of the big aspects of social media too.
Okay, what is the secret to not letting your kids be priority over your marriage?
By not letting them be priority over you.
Yeah, it's so funny. We go on date nights and they be like, "Why y'all just went on a date night?" We be like, "And." Like we be like, and we did. What's the problem?
Like, these kids is not gonna rule.
They're not y'all.
Everything I have going on. Okay.
Like who did I say that to? Robin the other day was like, "Mom, do you love mommy more than me?" I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah. We have to make like yes, we love our kids. Our kids are our everything. But right, the order, as we've been taught by our pastors, is God first.
Yep.
Then yourself.
Yep.
Then your spouse.
Yep.
Then your kids.
Yep.
And then everything else.
In that order.
In that order. And so there were seasons where I know I prioritize my kids over my marriage.
Right. I don't think it's anyone gets it perfectly all throughout.
Yeah.
But it's good to have the standard.
Yeah. And so because you have the standard, it's like you make it an intentional point to make sure that you continuously stay in it. So yeah, we're going to keep going on date nights, even though the kids are like, "Oh, why you guys going on date night?" It's like this because
we go on vacations every year. We have to have a vacation without them.
Yep, we have vacations without them. Yeah, we have our evening time, so we put them to bed, and that evening time we spend it with each other. Part of it, we make sure that we connect every day.
We can't give you the whole evening.
No.
It's like 7:30. Good night. Y'all can go in your bed, have your private time. The rest of the night is for us.
Yeah.
I think prioritizing that date nights is important.
Yes.
Time with each other is important.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think it's also so healthy for children, like to see us as parents prioritize each other.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. Like when we go on date nights, they come out, take pictures of us, and we're like, we give each other a kiss, and they're saying bye, like we're taking care of each other, because I think it's teaching them what to expect and what to desire in a spouse, and how that how that should be.
Your kids also should be able to see how much of in love we are.
Absolutely.
Like I want my kids to be like, "Oh, mommy loves daddy so much, daddy loves mommy so much." Like, and this is how they show it to one another.
Right.
So when they're older, right, they get to understand what it means to be in a marriage and to be in a successful relationship and what love looks like.
Yeah.
For RJ, how to love on a woman, on your wife.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's just, you just make a conscious effort to just prioritize each other.
So regular date nights.
Yep.
And prior.
Oh, and let me add, our kids don't sleep in our bed.
Ooh, that's good.
Our kids don't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna cause up some stuff for people, but
3 months you're out.
But it was hard. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard because when I think with our first, you were a stickler about it, and we were first time parents, so it was really hard for me. It was a lot of a transition. It was a lot of a transition. And then with our second, same thing. And then with RJ being a premature child, it felt like it was harder
more
for me.
Yeah.
But you have always been like, once they hit the 3-month mark, you start going to your own room.
Y'all go to your own bed.
Our kids still come into our room in the middle of the
we
night,
still
and
kick
we send
them
them
out.
back because we're like,
God
this
bless
is mommy
you.
and daddy's room. You have your room. We paid for a bed for you to sleep in. Like, you get all the hugs and kisses and cuddles in the morning.
Yeah.
And before bed.
They don't crowd our space. I think
Yeah.
it's important for them to understand that this is mommy and daddy's space.
Yeah.
And you can't just come and crowd it completely. If there's something wrong with you, we love you and stuff like that, but you can't make it like a regular, like RJ. Like the other day, this dude came into our bed in the like he's the first one up. So he gets up like at 5 and he's there, he's enjoying, he's like, "Mommy, RJ, daddy." Mommy, RJ, and he's pointing at himself. I'm like, boy, if you don't get up from my bed.
You legit told him, you're like, RJ, why are you here?
Why are you here? Get off of my bed. Like, I think there are things that God, as parents, has asked us to sacrifice for our children.
Yeah.
Which was to raise them. And then there are things that God don't ask for.
Mm.
So be careful when you give your children things that God didn't ask you to give them. Because God did not ask you for you to give up your marriage bed for that kid to be 2 years old still sleeping with you. God did not ask for that. That's what you want. Yeah. I want to give to my kids what God has asked me to, train them in the way that they should go. When they grow up, they do not depart from it. You know what I'm saying? It's like God told me to not sin against them, to not make them angry on purpose. God told me to steward them, lead them, guide them. You know, God said that when they grow, they should call me blessed. So I need to live in a way where they would want to bless me. You know what I'm saying? But there are things that I think as parents we do because out of convenience or out of past trauma or out of fear that God didn't ask for. And when we do that, we place our children over our marriage. And so I want to do what God has asked for. And in both, I want to treat my wife the way God has asked me to treat my wife and love my wife. And I want to love my children the way God has asked me to do that. And I think that's how you prioritize it.
That's good.
Next question.
Okay, what does holiness look like in 2023?
What does holiness look like in 2023?
Holiness is still right.
Listen, holiness in 2023 still look like what holiness looked like in 2000, in 1975, what holiness looked like when Jesus was sitting and talking to the woman at the well. Like holiness still look the same. Holiness don't change with time.
That's really good, baby.
Holiness don't change because of social media. Holiness don't change.
Yeah.
It don't change. Holiness is still the same. And holiness is you with the clean hands and a pure heart trying to live right in accordance to the word of God. It don't matter what gets thrown in there. It doesn't matter what time period gets thrown in there. It don't matter if social media gets thrown in there. It don't matter if a relationship gets thrown, if money gets thrown in there. No, holiness is you doing your best every day to live with clean hands and a pure heart, and you walking by the word of God.
That's really it. There's nothing else to add to that. That's just what it is.
Yeah. And in 2023, just temptation, it's temptation is just packaged differently.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We're in different times for sure. So, but I think going back to what you just said is like, it's holiness still looks the same. So it may feel more difficult or it may feel more challenging now because there's just so much that we like have in our face. Whether it's media, whether it's where we live, the people we're around, our schools, even, but it always stays the same. And so long as every day you make a conscious effort to pick up your cross and follow him, like you're living in that holiness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing I'll say about that is do not consciously choose to ignore your convictions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? About how you live.
Right.
And so I think that's that line. When you know wrong and you still do wrong, that's that line. I think if you want to protect holiness, if you want to protect living for God, you want to be so sensitive and so attentive to your whole entire heart and your convictions, how you feel about it. You want to be like, man, that was wrong. I know it was wrong. I want to make it right. Or I did that and it was wrong. I got to make sure that I repent. I got to make sure I take steps to improve and do better, etc. But not ignoring it and still continuing to do it. Yeah. I think that doesn't change in time. Yeah. That doesn't change in time at all. And I think we have to follow the conviction of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
We have to follow the conviction that we get from the word. And we have to act on it and work on it.
How should a leader discipline their workers, and how should their workers respond to it?
How should a leader discipline the people that they're leading? I think it's first, whatever you're disciplining needs to be grounded in the word.
Yes.
It can't come off as my opinion.
Right.
I'm maybe I shouldn't answer this in the context of church. So I could do both. If I'm saying in the context of church, whatever I'm calling a leader out on or somebody that's working out on, if I'm giving discipline, it should be not from me. It should be based on the word.
Right.
And saying, hey, I am here And we are both here as people who have committed to following the word of God.
Right.
So if I'm going to say, hey, this is wrong, the reason why it's wrong is because this is what the word says. I think that's one of the things. I think aside, let's say somebody's is a manager or something like that. If it's not the written word of God, you want to try to make sure that it's the written word somewhere. You get what I'm saying? So if it's like at your job and you're violating something, conduct and things like that, it's easy to discipline people when there are things that are written down and people have agreed upon it, and they can be held accountable to what they've agreed on. And I think that's one of the things that makes it easy to be like, okay, well, this is what you agreed on, and this is what you did. So it's like, let's call a spade, and this is what we need to do to move forward from that.
Yeah, that word discipline is tough for me because, like, I mean, I guess if I'm thinking about it in the context of the church, like, I'm not God, so like, discipline for me in the context of, like, I guess being a leader in the church and like those who you're leading, it's not that there aren't consequences to your actions, but I do feel like as a leader, your job is to maybe not necessarily discipline those folks, but to teach them and to show them the right way, to help them understand what the word of God says. Like, did you like going back to what you said, like, are you consciously doing this because like you know it's wrong and you don't care, or is it something you don't know or understand? I don't think it's up to us to discipline people necessarily. I think it's one thing if it's like, okay, somebody does something outrageous, all right, like you know what I mean, like you need to be sat down or whatever, like whatever the protocols call for. But like, you know, I think when it comes to like folks doing wrong and you as a leader being able to step in and helping them to teach them wrong, I think is or teach them the right way to do something or the right way that a thing is a thing. And I think it's the same way outside of the church. I think my job, my stance has always been as a leader, like, I don't want to discipline you. I just want you to understand why what you did was wrong. And so if you didn't know it was wrong, I want to teach you and I want to help you to do right.
To get the right understanding.
And if you knew it was wrong and you did it, well, we need to, I want to help you check your heart. Because why did you do that when you knew it was wrong? Yeah,
I think discipline has like this connotation of like punishment.
Yes.
Whereas I think when people know better, they do better.
Exactly.
And if we put more effort in, like you said, you know, put more effort in teaching,
right,
and showing the better way, I think we'll get a better result.
Yeah.
And so, not approaching it on a disciplinarian, but
right,
rather, you know, a helpmate, somebody that you can help get to the next space, I think would be absolutely better.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Cool. So that's all the questions we have, y'all. Listen, y'all keep sending your questions. We may get on live.
We might do a couple of lives, honestly.
A couple lives and just do some impromptu stuff. We hope today was helpful. We can't wait to see what the rest of the season has. And send your questions. We want to continue to help you live life in such an amazing way and just give you the wisdom that we've learned as we've continued to do this. So as always, make sure you share, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, let some folks know, share whatever it is that you've enjoyed about this, and talk to us. Let us know what you agree with. If you disagreed with something, let us know. Like, let's talk about it. Let's continue to grow together. We hope you enjoyed this episode of The Pierre Way. We'll see you next week for another exciting episode, y'all.
Yeah.
Peace.
We're going up, we're going forward.